I watched a movie from 2013 called uh, Homefront. It's a very simple title. It's one of those things. Um, Now I've last watched Jason Statham not too long ago, actually, in Safe. So I thought, it would be as bombastic as Safe was. Incidentally, they both have a child, so he essentially needs to protect a child in both. But it actually wasn't as bombastic. It wasn't as fireworks, there weren't as many fireworks in both as there were in Safe. Um, okay, Safe had a bit of a well, sort of fictional sort of, premise. I mean, well, theoretically possible, someone can remember loads of numbers and such, but, you know, not quite realistic. I doubt it ever happened, let alone, loads of criminals fighting for her. Now, of course, there and Safe, police also were essentially a party to the conflict, as they usually are in real life as well. And in this movie, though, in Homefront, they exist, obviously, like they exist in most movies and in real life. But it's a bit of a strange thing because at one point they did mention that they were corrupted, that he was in cahoots with the drug seller there, the local so-called drug lord and such, but didn't really do anything. He was about to shoot him, so it's kind of unexpected. I'm just saying. In the sense, I'm not entirely sure why it was said that there was this corruption. I guess it wasn't really followed up with anything. But I suppose whatever, might as well. Um, Otherwise, though, it's not something entirely what I expected. I mean, it ended as I expected. It didn't quite, most of it wasn't as I expected, I suppose. I mean, I didn't expect like, a children bullying other children sort of incident at the beginning. Not many action movies have such incidents, but this one somehow had. Obviously, the very beginning is quite typical of most actually. And what's not also very typical is the scenes in between the conversations and such, scenes of trees and lakes and rivers, which was interesting, I suppose. It's kind of a calming sort of, sort of the calm with, between the storm and such. It's yeah. I mean, obviously, the more we go on, then the less there are. I think that's generally yeah. But yeah, otherwise, it's honestly, it's a movie where Jason seems just slightly more human than usual. I mean, you know, I can also compare to Safe, considering I watched it recently. I probably watched some of the Jason Statham movies before, but don't quite remember them. Now, despite protecting also a female child in Safe, um, he was incredibly robotic there. I mean, although, yeah, something similar happened in terms of him fighting others, possibly, maybe I don't quite remember if he ever was, temporarily beaten and such. Like sometimes they are in action movies, but not always. Sometimes they are practically invincible. But he, I don't know, the way he found her in the first place, on a train and just spontaneously decided to protect her, wasn't as realistic. So in a sense, Homefront is actually more. It is more mundane, literally, as the name implies. He's trying to build a home in a sense, but the past catches up with him and such. So in this sense, it is more realistic, and at the very least, it didn't. I mean, I was really thinking the worst for the cat there at one point, but somehow it was found safe and sound. Parents supposedly Statham adopted it, and a double as well somehow adopted. Um, so overall, this wasn't a as humdrum as most other action movies usually are. So more interesting it was. Um, it's so yeah, it's kind of is. Obviously, there's the violence, but not as much either. So in a sense, it's better. The storyline though, this is the thing. I mean, Safe did have also a bombastic sort of storyline, but it mostly had all the shooting, really just shooting. I I kind of watch these sort of movies for that brain that sort of I don't know. It's like I don't watch them when I'm fully recharged, so I don't know maybe, but yeah, I mean this one was kind of interesting, seeing people conflicting against each other. And yeah, James Franco, um, he plays such a villain. Now, before, I'm not sure how many times I actually seen him before, but I don't actually remember him in such a role before. Yeah, so, but otherwise, um, I've seen him before in just a few movies, not a lot, but I don't even know if he's suited for this sort of thing. I mean, you'd think they put in someone else who looks gruff and such. I mean, he doesn't quite look very gruff. So, I've watched him in This Is the End before, so I don't quite remember it. It's been years since I watched it. And I've watched him in Howl in a Row. That was interesting. This Is the End is about some comedy about the apocalypse. I vaguely remember it, but not quite. Quite chaotic poster. But I don't really know him from action movies. This is pretty much the first. Apparently he appeared in Green Hornet as well. Uncredited for some reason. Why do people do things uncredited? Well, I don't remember, probably a very small part. That's usually why they're uncredited. I've apparently watched him in the Valley of Elas one from 2007, even earlier. Some sergeant, I don't really remember him at all. I watched it many years ago. Many years. Apparently I watched him in some movie called Annapolis. I was watched many years ago, so I don't remember it all. Well, vaguely. I suppose this is No, it's not. It's not the same sort of film. I guess it's apparently drama, romance, and sport for some reason. Okay. Um. So yeah, I've actually watched him in many movies. I just don't quite remember very well. Um. He did did a lot of movies. Yeah, he really did. Um. So despite having watched him in a few movies, he did a lot more. So I only watched him in a minority of movies. Yeah, I also watched him in The Interview. So anyway, yeah, I have mostly watched him in either drama or comedy. Practically, this is pretty much the first action movie. So yeah, I suppose I didn't like his character, but then that's the point. It's a fictional thing, and I don't really care too much. But I don't know if he could have really, if he was really prepared to shoot a child, yeah, it was interesting to see that conflict though. And that mother from the beginning, despite being so angry about her, suddenly she changed and wanted to rescue her, something kind of a bizarre thing to see. Alright. And yeah, what happened to the so-called psychologist? She just disappeared into thin air. Yeah, one of those things, huh? Weirdness. She really did disappear. They were about to have some sort of relationship, and that's it, gone. Hmm, must have forgotten her. So yeah, ultimately, what is this movie? It is still, an action movie in the end, so it's not quite, doesn't quite deviate from the this type that you know safe is similar to and such, but it does have much less than it, which in my opinion makes it better. Certainly not worse. But there's no way, obviously, when it comes to genres, to know really how much of a certain genre there is. So in this case, it had more drama than so-called action. Whereas Safe had more action than drama. It's always, there's always a differential ratio for a movie, despite both having the same actor. But then again, actors do decide on the script, or the direction, of course. And then again, apparently Statham was, I think, the only British actor. All the other actors were American, so bit of a strange arrangement. Also, another weird trivia I found out is that the police officer voices Neocortex in Crash Bandicoot. That's sort of a weird sort of meeting there. Didn't think I'd meet him there. I don't think I've ever seen him before. But I certainly know of Neocortex and Uka Uka as well. They're both voiced by the same person. Uh, Assuming the mask isn't there. Hmm. So yeah. Anyway, it wasn't as bad as other action movies. And the point is, it was interesting, particularly the first bit. But ultimately, it sort of reverts to type. This is the problem with these sort of movies. But still interesting, though. Um, it's mundane. So no, no, it doesn't. The girl doesn't. She more realistically. To, I prefer her thought. At least she can defend herself as opposed to just recite numbers or something. Which is more realistic. There are people, I guess, who can recite numbers, but more realistic to be able to defend herself as such, and better than not being able to defend herself, at least. So yeah, otherwise, yeah, but it's still very. It's still mediocre in a way. Most action movies are so. Yeah, whatever though, ultimately, just, yeah.